Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the State of the Rams podcast with John Weber, presented by Rams Live. In this podcast, we'll dive into the business side of athletics, which we thought was fitting since we have a businessman at the helm. In today's episode, we're going to dive into what makes Colorado State and Fort Collins great, which you may be thinking, duh, we all know Fort Collins is one of the most desirable places to live, and if you're watching this podcast, you probably also love the Rams. But today we'll talk about the economic impact of the city of Fort Collins and CSU, and how the university tries to put CSU on the radar of prospective students. Joining us today, we have Cynthia Eichler, the CEO of Visit Fort Collins, and Kevin MacLennan, CSU's Vice President for Enrollment and Access and one of the leaders of the Choose CSU initiative. All right, we've got our first guest for the second episode of the State of the Rams podcast. We have the CEO of Visit Fort Collins, Cynthia Eichler, joining us. Cynthia, thank you so much for your time today.
You are welcome. I'm delighted to be here. Colorado State Rams is one of my favorite subjects.
Well, I want to ask both of you guys on that subject. When we think of CSU football game day, what comes to mind?
Oh, fun. I think it's a day that community can rally, and really support and just have that game day experience. We are so lucky. Not every community gets to have a game day experience, but we do, right? And so we try to also persuade alumni from all over the place to come and join us. And I'm familiar with some of those folks, but it's fun. It's fun on campus. It's fun off campus. No matter where you are in Fort Collins, you're going to have a great time when game day and game day weekend are here.
I like that your first word was fun, because that's what we work on really, really hard, is to produce our games in a manner where it is engaging, it's entertainment, it's fun, it's also serious. There's a lot at stake every time that we play a football game, but it's got to be something that the community can rally around, that they can enjoy. We draw people from throughout the state and throughout neighboring states, and when an away team is playing here, their fan base will come here as well. So we strive really hard to do the best in class game day production and really provide that engaging opportunity. And whether it be alumni, whether it be community members, whether it be donors and sponsors and all sorts of different likes of folks that come to those games, we want to create that community, that engagement opportunity, because it's important to all of us. It's important to the city. It's important to Northern Colorado. It's important to the state.
Yeah. It is. We are a little competitive too. We want to be the most fun, right? We want to win that category.
I love that. I feel like we are winning that category. At least I am on game weekends, that's for sure.
I think so.
And I think that's something we actually talk about when we're planning these game weekends, is obviously we have our football things that we need to get done, but we are also thinking of how do we set up this perfect weekend in Fort Collins for people who are coming to see the football team, maybe from out of town, or we have parents coming to see their students at CSU. So Cynthia, when you look at a typical game weekend in Fort Collins from a tourism standpoint, what does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah. Well, I think that it is our responsibility to make sure we are the megaphones, right? Like, we want to work in tandem with all that John and CSU do to get the good word out. And sometimes it's an unsuspecting person who's at the hotel, and we make sure that they know it's game day, and can we get them to go ahead and come to the will call and grab a ticket and then participate, or come to the pep rally downtown, or any of the things that we're doing. So it really is about, there's some hype to this, right? Like, how, again, are we that megaphone to make sure everybody knows, as well as our business partners, right? Beyond CSU, how do our restaurants and our retailers show up ready for game day? Because it makes a difference in how people have that game day experience and then get them back, or persuade an extra day or two here, right?
I love that. And this is a business angle podcast, since we have our businessman in charge of the athletic department. So I have to ask you, when we look at a typical, maybe not even just a football weekend, but a big weekend in Canvas Stadium, whether that's commencement, PBR, a football weekend, what kind of impact does that have on the local economy?
Whether it is a single game day, or it is PBR, where we've got a multiple night event, or, Drums Along the Rockies, or commencement, people show up. Our hoteliers also love CSU for all of those reasons, right? Compelling reasons to get to Fort Collins, have that experience in so many ways, right? right? It is game day, but it's well beyond that. And I think that not everybody recognizes how all the pieces come together. So we work closely with the hotels to have a welcoming message when they show up, or to understand the kinds of things that they can do, whether on campus or off campus, again, to elevate that experience. And so it all comes together.
And I'd say to translate that to sports vernacular, we are one big team. And we work really, really well together. Just like you said, to make sure that everyone in town is aware that the game is going on that day, and if there's people coming in from out of town, if they're not here for the game, that they're aware of that opportunity. Yep. And we do a lot throughout the game week to make sure that we're engaging the community as much as we can, and we work well as a team, and certainly grateful for everything that Visit Fort Collins does.
For someone who's never been to the area, what makes CSU and Fort Collins such a special combination?
We often say Fort Collins is not Fort Collins without CSU, and CSU is not CSU without Fort Collins. That symbiotic relationship is huge, and it's been in place for so long, right? I think we've had time to grow it and finesse it, and also be really intentional about that, right? We recognize that when a parent and their child, their student, is choosing, there are a lot of places to go, but there's not other places like Fort Collins, and we really do shine, right? Like, I think parents feel comfortable. There's great outdoor activities. There's arts and culture, really whatever you want. Our music scene, you guys, it's outstanding. You can have local music. If you want to jump on I-25 or take Mustang, it's really easy to get to Denver too for some fun things. So we are in many ways just the best of all worlds put together. We struggle, honestly, when we market. Sometimes we're like, what are we talking about, right? Because there are so many good things, and I'm like, aren't we blessed to have that challenge about what are we going to talk about this week or today?
When we have visiting families come, whether they're stopping in the Visit Fort Collins office or we have recruits on campus coming with their families, what is something that they say stands out to them about CSU or the town?
There's a couple things that rise to the top really quickly. We're so friendly. People genuinely experience that. They feel that. We love to bring people with us, right? Like, if you stop in a restaurant or one of our craft breweries, you're out on the trail, the first thing is, what do you like, right? And then we can make a recommendation based on what they love. So come with us with what you love. And I think that's the first thing. And then I would say outdoors is huge for all of us, right? We have 350 miles of bike trails. You don't ever have to be on a street if you don't want to. We've got Horsetooth Reservoir, so all the water sports. The Cache Laputer is the only wild and scenic river in Colorado. That's actually a really big deal. And like, fly fishing is amazing, and kayaking. So I would say those are our two things that I see often. From a recruit's perspective, and you can probably talk about this a little bit as well. But from a recruiting perspective, it's first they're amazed with the campus, and they're amazed with the facilities that are available there for them. I like what you said about people are so friendly, because we talked about Coach Moore recently joining us, and he said that multiple times, that just being able, he lives here in downtown, and just walking around town, and people will stop him and talk to him, and just really be engaging, and that's a really special thing, I think, to this community. But then from a city perspective, when we bring recruits and we bring families, typically we'll just because of our proximity to Old Town, we'll bring them into Old Town, and they're amazed at the community here, at the city, and all the amenities, all the restaurants and shopping, and all the things that are available here in town. And I'll tell you what, it is a phenomenal recruiting asset for us. There's no doubt.
I'm really glad you brought up the friendliness point too, because I feel like that's something I normally miss in my list when I'm listing off all the great things about living here, but it's something that comes up quite often when you talk to people, and I've definitely felt that. I think when I came on my recruiting trip, which I asked Tom Hilbert if this was a plant because it felt like it was, but a little girl came up to my restaurant when I was eating with the players and asked if she could take a picture with us because she recognized all the CSU volleyball players. And I'm like, she recognizes you guys. And then I experienced it for myself once I was an athlete, now working here. But I'm like, did you stage that? Because that felt like a movie moment or something. But no, it was just genuine.
And it happens after every home game, right? Yes. Whether it's a movie or a canvas with all the local community children show up, and the volleyball program is notorious for doing such a great job of engaging with our youth, and it's a special thing to see each post game.
It's a big ego boost. I've had it a few times now that I'm not on the team too, where I think I have a couple more years where they'll still recognize me from volleyball, and I'm definitely soaking that in, taking advantage of it while it lasts. But
as you should.
Thank you. Obviously, you guys have a great relationship, and the city and the university have a great partnership. What does that look like behind the scenes?
Oh gosh, 101 things, right, John? It is behind the scenes. Sometimes, this will make you smile. We have a van. We've transported, guests for CSU at all kind of levels. We do gift bags for guests at all levels. We've done them for maybe some key recruiting situations, right? To just make people feel welcome and help them understand kind of that breadth of what you can have for an experience. We guest speak. We do all kinds of things. CSU has showed up to woo somebody else, right? Or we've had them at Canvas for the concert or for something that is relatable to them. And sports is a big driver of that, but there are other things, and it's just the list is endless, sort of.
It is long. From a business perspective, there's a lot of collaboration that happens behind the scene, and anytime that we put on an event, whether it be a PBR, whether it be a commencement, whether it be a football game, a basketball game, volleyball match, whatever it happens to be, there's coordination that happens with the city to make sure that we take it all, that we take full advantage of that particular opportunity, and it takes a lot of work, but we're all better for it.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on some of the amazing things to do in Fort Collins over the weekend. What's a way that you extend somebody's football trip so that they're staying longer than the game? So if someone's going to come in town for a game day, how do we get them to stay the whole weekend?
Yeah. We actually have a microsite during football season. So if you come to our website, you're going to pop on to CSU game day. And so we have itineraries on there, right? And so it's easy for somebody to say, oh, I am grabbing an extra day, right? I want to go do X, Y, Z. So we do prime the pump. We like to encourage them to come and do that. But again, sometimes it's just people knowing, they're like, we're definitely coming for game day. And then they're like, oh, look at this. An extra day of economic impact to our community is a big deal, so capturing an existing guest for one more day really does matter. And we love doing that. We tried last year also with, we got really good feedback with graduation. By college, we had an itinerary. So if you are with Warner, we gave you all the outdoor things, right? If it was in liberal arts, we had all of the arts and culture, and that seemed to go really well. And that was the first year. So experimenting too. I think we are good at trying things with each other. We're not afraid to say, hey, what about this? And give it a whirl. If it works, do more.
And from our perspective, we're doing more and more to try to engage the city throughout a game weekend as well. It starts on Friday night with us, bringing a pep rally into Old Town and bringing the band and spirit squad through town, and then even on game day itself, we'll route our team buses, up through downtown Fort Collins and bring them down College Avenue for, the businesses and fans and everyone to come out. Maybe they're having lunch before the game or whatever they're doing, but it's just an opportunity, just another engagement opportunity, and we're doing more and more of those little things. But when you do all those little things, they add up to big things too. So that's what we're focused on.
Absolutely. I love the individual itineraries based on a game day or where you're graduating. That's very, very savvy. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to put both of you on the spot here. So if you have your best friend or whoever coming into town to Fort Collins for the first time, what are 3 must-dos that you have to hit, whether it's a restaurant or an event or a place they need to see? You got to pick 3. There's probably more. There's always stuff to do here.
Oh, all right. I'm going to assume it's summer because that's my favorite season, right? We're going to get pie at either Me Oh My Pie or Ginger and Baker, because you can't miss that. And then honestly, I take people to the trial gardens. They are so beautiful, and like we take them for granted, right? And people come in and go, what is this? This is amazing. And so that may linger into additional, kind of things on campus, maybe the Oval. Another thing that actually downtown, we can't skip downtown. That always rates really high. But I think one of our hidden treasures sometimes is the Museum of Discovery. People don't realize what that is. And if you get them through those doors, it does not matter whether you are 2 or 70, there's some fun to be had. And we often hear, how is this in Fort Collins, right? So it is a hidden gem, and we often try to make sure folks get in those doors too.
So
I cheated, I did more.
you mentioned fly fishing, and I love fly fish, so I know a lot of spots up and down the river, from town all the way up into the canyon. So that's a must do for me. Campus, obviously, from our perspective, it's a special place, and whether you're at the Oval or whether you're at some of our other facilities, it's a great institution, so lively with all the student body on campus, and Old Town's a special place. Just love it here in Old Town, live in Old Town, and spend a lot of time around here. And it's just it's a great place to spend some time.
Ruby, I have to mention the Disney connection.
Okay. Yes, please.
If people do not know, Harper Goff, who worked with Walt Disney side by side as they were creating Main Street, California. Main Street is half Fort Collins and half Walt's hometown. We have Disney regulars who come and count the 14 buildings that you can now find on their Main Street. And it really is a thing, so Disney fanatics know. And of course, it's a fun part of our history as well. So we always have to talk about Disney.
That is a little tidbit that when I'm playing tour guide, I like to throw in there. I'm like, oh, by the way, we're actually downtown Disney, but like to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. We've talked a lot about football season so far. We have the PBR returning this summer to Canvas Stadium. What was the initial impact or the way that the community reacted to that event last summer, and how do you expect with the anticipation building to return this summer?
John, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. We had a great turnout for PBR, and for them, I don't want to misstate a fact here, but it's somewhere around one of the absolute largest events that they do. So they'll typically do things that are in smaller arenas, but when they get into their championship season, then they'll do things in really, really large venues. But the fact that we're able to do that in the first year with 2 nights of PBR, 2 music acts, and packed canvas the way that we did, it was a phenomenal start to our relationship, and it led to that continuing. We're going to do 3 nights this week. We moved it onto a weekend as well, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which should allow us to get to draw even more people in, and it's a relationship that's just at the beginning for us with PBR, but we expect that to grow significantly. And what we're doing this year is a different format than what we did last year. So Friday night will be an intercollegiate rodeo format. So we'll have other universities competing in Canvas Stadium, and then Saturday and Sunday will be a PBR teams event. That format is that they have individual teams that compete against each other. All of their teams will be here, and will be the kickoff to their team season. So it'll be the first event in their team season, and you're really looking forward to continuing to build on that concept with them as a partner.
I think too. Fort Collins has probably been lacking some key concerts, right? Like our local music scene is top notch. We've launched some really cool groups here, but to bring home the type of talent that is coming for the concerts, and people filled up. They were pretty excited to be able to do that here in Fort Collins. So I think it's only going to gain ground and grow and really shine again, the amazing talent. And PBR too. I mean, we are, we're an ag school. We are an ag state. And so to bring that also at a whole different level is super exciting. I know, John, when I walked around last year, and I'm thinking, I know no one. And that blew me away. And so I asked, I forget who I asked afterwards, but I was like, did you capture, zip codes? And they were like, yes. And they asked, had you been? It was some crazy thing, like 80% of the people had not been to campus before. And I was like, wow. So what a blessing. Thank you. Because I think they'll be back. And it just brought together some of the best things about CSU and Ag and Fort Collins. What an amazing, opportunity.
Yeah, and that's why we do more and more of those types of events to draw families and to draw people into town, into our university. And the more of that kind of stuff that we do, whether it's CHASA or whether it's PBR or things of the like, the more that we can get people to come to Fort Collins and see what just an absolutely phenomenal place it is, it helps all of us.
Yes.
And and you're right. The turnout that we had was, there were a lot of people that had not been. If they haven't been to Fort Collins, they obviously hadn't been to the university either. Yeah. And it was, I think it was a really fun, eye-opening experience for a lot of people.
I think so. And I loved, I saw the information for Ag Day at that event. And I was like, yes, that is amazing, right? Because if they hadn't been to that, there was one more door to open, right? And get their curiosity back and go, oh, what do you mean? What is Ag Day? And it's like, well, let me tell you, right? So we just had one more enticement to have them back and feel more connected and start watching for those type of opportunities as they come to Fort Collins and to campus, which is awesome.
Well, I personally love anytime I can bust out my cowgirl boots and feel like I can wear those downtown, and it's the vibe for the weekend. So you'll be seeing me, hopefully, if my foot is healed.
Or cowgirl boot. Maybe you may not have both, but you have a cowgirl boot on.
Actually, it would shock you how much I've thought about that specific moment. I'm like, when PBR comes, I really hope I can be wearing my boots, because that is important to me. Okay, like I said, this is a business podcast. So again, I will put you both on the spot. Elevator pitch. At the end of the day, what makes Fort Collins the place to be?
Fort Collins delivers. And we deliver a great university. We deliver a great community. Our school district is top notch. If you're a family looking for that, if you want outdoor rec, we have it. And if you really have to ski, we're not that far away, right? So I believe that Fort Collins really is the whole package. And I'm excited when I get to give that elevator pitch.
It's, to me, it's all the things. Like you mentioned, a great city, a great university, outdoor recreation. It's all here. It's all here, and it's a special place. And I'm excited to be living back in Fort Collins and plan to do so for a very, very, very long time. So.
Mic drop. Good elevator speeches, you guys. Cynthia, thank you so much for joining this podcast. It was great to have you.
Thank you. Always.
Next up, we'll have Kevin MacLennan from Choose CSU. So we have Kevin MacLennan joining us today, the CSU Vice President for Enrollment and Access and one of the leaders of Choose CSU, which we're going to get into. But I have to say, one of the reasons why I chose CSU is on display today with this beautiful sunshine. I remember stopping by the Oval when I was 17 and I was like, this place is great. So what a better place to have our interview today.
Yeah, this is exactly one of the things that's best about CSU is beautiful campus on a beautiful Colorado day.
So Kevin, you're one of the leaders of Choose CSU. I want to hear a little bit about what that is and what experience you're trying to provide for admitted students.
Yeah. The number one thing that we have at Colorado State University is just this world-class university, and we really are intentional about designing a first-class program for families to be able to see truly what CSU is all about. And doing that in a big environment with the excitement of, for example, starting in Moby with 2,000 to 3,000 prospective students and parents, and really giving them a feel for what their experience could be like. And then we have such an outpouring with our faculty and staff on a Tuesday where there's so many sessions to choose from. It's almost like a mini conference that students go to where they pick the things that they're most interested in terms of putting together what's possible so they can individualize their experience, customize it, and personalize their CSU experience. So day-long campus visit program starts about 8 o'clock in the morning and goes until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and involves between 200 and 300 faculty and staff from CSU to talk to prospective students.
Wow, that's an amazing collaboration. And one of the parts you mentioned was starting it in Moby Madness. So John, I want to ask you a little bit about this. When we get the cheerleaders there, when we get the pylons with the smoke coming out and the band, what do you want those admitted students to feel?
I want them to feel a sense of community and a sense of Ram pride. And it's just a really good opportunity to show them what it's like to be a member of campus and be integral to what we're trying to do here at CSU. It's a great opportunity. You and I both had the opportunity to be students here, and there's just nothing like the camaraderie that you build there to root on your fellow classmates.
Absolutely. And Kevin, what inspired starting this event in Moby for Moby Madness?
I think one of the things that we're always trying to do is exceed people's expectation. And coming to a university, you're always wondering, I wonder what it'll be like. Will I find my fit? Will I find people that are interested in me attending, and will I find tradition and excellence? And when you're in Moby and you're surrounded by that, and you see all of our current students so excited about their experience, it's hard not to soak that up as a prospective student, because we really show a lot of CSU pride when students are here. And I think that's what they're looking for. They want to belong to a campus that's excited, or that the students that are currently there are really excited on attending.
Yeah, and athletics events are things that can help amplify that in a huge way. It's one of the things that President Parsons talked about a while ago about the athletics and attending events. It's a place where everyone of all sorts of different backgrounds come together to cheer for a common thing, and that's just a really, really great opportunity for them to see it in action.
Yeah, and I think it's also a special, unique blend of all of us coming together as a set of CSU Rams, but then also it allows each person individually to find their own community in the sessions, whether they're interested in undergraduate research or the honors program or the College of Natural Resources, or whatever their path is. It illuminates that on a smaller, more neighborhood basis, so they get the best of both worlds. They get the big and all-together CSU family, and then they get the individualized, customized, and personalized experience in some of the other sessions.
And you've touched on collaboration a lot. There's a lot of pieces that go into this day. What does that say about our community and our campus as a whole, that so many people are willing to come together to create this experience for prospective students?
Yeah, it's phenomenal here at CSU. When I came here to the campus 3 years ago, the number one thing that I was just blown away from is I didn't meet anybody who didn't want to help and jump right in to do the right things for prospective students and parents. And I think one of the things that I've seen, this beautiful outcome of these bigger programs, is it gives us a lot of pride in the place that we work. And we want to share that, and seeing how excited students get about what our university is all about is the reason we show up every day. And so it reinforces why we're all here. I've talked a lot about none of us is here unless students are here. So we need to be here for our students and making sure that they have great opportunities to explore and to expand and create the best version of their future self. And our faculty and staff are really behind that, and they're all coming out on a Saturday when they don't have to really share their pride about CSU.
A reoccurring theme that I'm hearing is pride and tradition, which are two really big reasons why I chose CSU. I think it's really cool to go to a university with such rich tradition. When we're recruiting either student athletes or regular students, how do you display those traditions, and what are the kind of things that you're showing off to them?
Well, one of the first things, Ruby, is we're sitting here in the Oval. So an absolutely historic part of campus, and we honor a lot of what we do. We've worn Colorado Agricultural College gear before, as an example, and harkening back to some of the really old retro logos, and we continue that going forward with the Ag Day tradition. So when we head into the fall each year, Ag Day is a part of what we do. We've done State Pride in the past. But we really try to get students involved with the history of our institution, and we represent a lot of that through what we're doing in athletics and a lot of our programming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also think that we want to expose that to students right away when they're first prospective students on a campus tour with their families. So we spend on their first tour of CSU talking a lot about the history and tradition, because that also really promotes the value of a CSU education. And if you don't have rich history and tradition of having success in all your areas on campus, I think students pick up on that. And we have so much success here at CSU in so many different areas across academics, across athletics, across programs in student affairs, around student success, around all the things that we do to try and really hold them to a high standard. Sharing that is an important piece of the value message, I think, that families pick up when they leave the campus and they're comparing other colleges and universities.
Yeah, and it shows in the number of legacy students that we have. You know, even in student athletes, where we've had, a parent compete here or a grandparent compete here, and then the current generation competes here as well. And obviously, hope that continues to go on and on. But we build a tradition here, and as people leave, they look for an opportunity to come back, and that's part of our history too.
Selfishly, those are always my favorite student athletes to interview because it's so cool. I interviewed a Golden Palm this year, Ava Sprague, whose dad was on the football team, mom was a cheerleader, they met at CSU. I'm like, you just softballed me that story. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, what's not to love about that? Kevin, one thing that I thought was really cool about Choose CSU Day is the element where students can commit on the spot.
Yep.
They put their deposit down, they're able to do that. What was the thinking behind that, and what does that moment feel like for those people?
Yeah. That's one of our favorite moments. No matter how many years I do this, it's always an opportunity for me to pull out my phone and take pictures of students doing it. And the thought behind it is there are ceremonial things that are part of our tradition, and feeling like you belong, and ringing of the bell, the cowbell, and being welcomed in with everybody cheering when you put down your confirmation to come here, I think is an example of a special celebration. We watch all of our families start to take pictures of the students, and then they go over to the Ram background, and it's literally, I think, the first time they really feel like I'm enrolled in college. I've made my decision, this is going to be my home. So, and that's a big decision, because as a lot of us know that have been to college, it will change the opportunities you have for the rest of your life. So I think having a little fun but very important celebration around the exact minute that they do it is something that sticks with them. So it's a fun thing for us as well to see the excitement, and again reinforces why we do this work every day, is because of the important students that we try to serve. So
it seems like it kind of emulates, when I thought of it, it's kind of like when a student athlete comes and they take their official visit photos and they have their signing day moment. It's so special that students are able to have that experience as well. It mirrors that perfectly. Yeah. And just the pride. I mean, we see families, members crying, and it's just such a celebratory kind of event that we don't want to let that go by as just another thing. And also, I think taking a little extra time to do something that's really positive for the student is the same kind of thing that we talk about for their whole experience here. We want it to be special, we want it to be unique, and we want the things that we do to matter on an individual level to the student, and it's a good way to start that. So.
Yeah, and it creates a lifelong relationship with the university as well. And we all know, because we've been through it, the people that you meet when you're a student someplace, those end up being lifelong friends for you. And so it is an enormous moment, and one I know that they're going to look back on and for the entire time they're here at CSU, and just continue to build those memories.
It's pretty cool when we're sitting in meetings in the athletic department as a former student at CSU to see the emphasis on how much value we put into the student experience. And I've gotten to see it as a student, but now also kind of behind the whiteboard, getting to see all of the effort that gets put into that. And I wanted to ask you, John, a big focus for you has been student attendance. And we've had some record-breaking student attendance in the last couple seasons. What do you think that says about our student community at CSU?
It says that we're full of Ram pride. And it's something that I'm really proud of. positive. And when we create environments like that, it's not just fun for the students, it's fun for everyone that's in the venue, whether it be Moby or our softball complex or Canvas, and it's just a fun thing to be a part of. And in the process of doing that, we create a home court advantage for our own student athletes. And probably one of the most meaningful things was when we would sell out Moby for a volleyball match for you, and there's just nothing like competing in front of a full venue and having that crowd behind you. So it's fun all the way around. It's important because it creates that advantage for us when we are competing. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do. Is that we're here to to be a powerful branding engine for Colorado State, and the most effective way to do that is for us to win. So everyone plays a part of that, and we want to make sure that it's fun too. This is college athletics. This is the best job in the country. Sorry, maybe second, maybe yours is best, but
mine.
Okay, behind yours. I'll say mine is second best then. But the opportunity to engage our students and to create that kind of fun environment and create those memories that really are going to be formative for them and are going to be lifelong for them. And I'm proud to be a part of that.
And when we're targeting prospective students from both of your guys' roles, you're trying to show them that CSU is more than just a campus, it's a community. How do you show that, whether it's on a game day or it's at Choose CSU Day? How do you show them that full experience?
I think we start with Choose because that's their first example of, wow, look at how the CSU is showing up. But as John was talking in the last question, I think one of the things that popped out immediately to me was John has worked very closely with us and our division with him to make sure that in the welcome week, when students are here, we're teaching them the cheers. We have a pep rally where they can get introduced. We have the night in the stadium where we teach them the cheers and things like that. So it leads up as to kind of like, this is the way that you get involved at CSU. This is the way that you can learn more about the campus. You can have fun. You can be energized around this, because right before all the academic programs start and we start classes, we want to build that excitement for the entire campus. And so in orientation and transition programs, which is also part of enrollment access, we're focusing heavily on making sure that students are ready and excited to join the RAM family all across campus in all of our sporting events and things. So.
And both of you work with students, whether it's students or student athletes. I'm curious if there's been a moment where you've seen somebody who's come through CSU have a personal growth moment or a way that they've kind of discovered themselves that you could share.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm always I keep coming back. This is about my 39th year in higher education, and it's so true here at CSU is the student who was in my office who was deciding whether or not they belonged here. Whether, the chips were down a little bit, things weren't going well, there was some adversity. And all they were looking for is someone to reach out and kind of help them with the path. They weren't looking necessarily to have it solved for them, but this is a big place here. And having the kind of people here on our faculty and staff that are genuinely invested in student success is just maybe walking ahead and carving out that path a little bit. And then they walk across the graduation stage. I had a student this last year walk across the graduation stage and just said, if it weren't for some of those individual conversations that we have, I'm not sure I would have met my goal of being a college graduate. So knowing that's going to happen for a lot of people, I think is the reason that it's part of the reason why I love this profession so much, because we get to help each other on the path to something good, which is graduating from the university. So,
and for me in the role that I have, it's really fun because we have an opportunity to see the confidence grow and skill grow, and whether it's with a student athlete, coming here as a brand new freshman and competing all the way until they're a senior, or we employ hundreds of student workers as well, and watching all of them grow their craft and get more confident at what they're doing, it's really It's fantastic just to watch that cycle, and that's what college is all about. Coming here and being able to grow, to learn, to get yourself set up to do what's whatever you're going to be passionate about from a career perspective. That's why places like CSU exist, and it's great to be a part of it and to see that personal growth all the way through. It's an honor to do that.
I think one of the coolest moments that I think you and Amy do a great job of when you go to these championship series like the Mountain West Tournament or NCAAs is getting to meet the families. And then I feel like you really can feel how students grow when you meet their parents, and then you meet the band and cheer and the student photographers and the managers, and I'll see them highlighted on social media pages, and I'm like, this is such a great full circle moment of not just the student athletes' growth and their ability to make it to the Mountain West Tournament or the NCAA tournament, but all of these other students who have kind of played a part in that growth as well. It's pretty cool.
And it takes I've said it before, it takes a village. It takes so much work and so much effort by so many different people to be successful at this stuff, and just watching everybody be a part of that, and whether it's working with partners on campus or whether it's people in our department, our coaches, our student workers, it's just great to see everybody continue to grow.
Well, I think the Choose CSU initiative has been so great. My last question for both of you, because you're both involved in it, is how do we see this initiative grow, and how do we continue to help students picture themselves at CSU?
I think one of the things that the Choose growing and into what it is today, and with the addition of Moby in there, it's just we're exactly on the right track. But at the same time, we want to be careful, because the beauty of CSU is you have all of these resources in this wonderful world-class institution here, but you also need time to be in small groups and in neighborhoods, and you need to be able to work, because we all do really well in sometimes big environments, but some of us need small environments. And so I think it's to continue to build out options, but at the same time, not just trying to get bigger necessarily, but to make sure we're meeting the needs of the student. You have to almost turn it upside down and start exactly with what the students and families need most, and make sure you're hitting that in all of our programs. So we'll continue to be really careful in analyzing that and evaluating that, so that we can retool our program, because the better we meet the needs of our students and families, the better chance that we'll not only enroll, but I think we also have an incredibly important ethical responsibility to be really transparent about who CSU is and maybe who it's not, so that when students make a decision, they're really making a well-informed decision. So I think we're going to add to it. We're going to try to do, the admissions office was telling me the other day they're bringing back bicycle tours of the campus for prospective students, and so we'll always look for unique things that are CSU that we can showcase and give people opportunity to choose. So.
And for us, we're here to serve our students. We're here to serve our campus, and in whatever capacity that we can do that to help attract the next generation of Rams. We want to be a really good partner with all of our campus, and just make sure that we're doing our part to create those environments and create those fun memories for everyone.
Well, I think that's a great perspective. It was great chatting with you, Kevin. Thanks so much for joining John's podcast.
Yeah, thank you for asking me to join.
Appreciate you.
Well, we'll be back right after this. We're going to head over to the Green and Gold Spotlight for our little wrap-up segment, and then we're almost done with episode 2. All right, well, we're almost done with our second State of the Rams John Weber podcast. How great was it to have Cynthia and Kevin with us this week?
No, it's great. So, a lot of great information from both of them. Cynthia has always been such a great partner with us, and I really look forward to continuing to work with her. And Kevin's doing a great job making sure that we get a whole bunch of great students here to CSU.
And obviously, they don't have to convince us that CSU in Fort Collins is great, but I wanted to take it back a little bit. When you were an 18-year-old, why did you choose CSU?
It's funny. I had an opportunity to compete athletically, and I was probably more of a D2 kid. I had a lot of opportunities at that level, but I did have an opportunity to come here and be a part of the track team for what ended up being a short time. But that really drove my initial interest. Coming to Colorado State, and then when I got here, just fell in love with the town, fell in love with the university, and obviously stayed and excited to be back.
When I came, my visit was in the summer, which I was always like, Tom knows what he's doing bringing recruits out here in the summer because it is the best time to be in Fort Collins. I think some of the girls took me out to the drive-in when I was on my visit. We had dinner in Old Town, and the campus at CSU is just unbeatable. When you see that A up on the foothills and the grass, it feels like college, which is what I was really looking for.
Yes, absolutely. It's outstanding in the summer, but my visit was in January and I came anyway.
I love that. I think my second visit, I came back in December for a football game, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit more realistic, I guess, of what the winter will be like, but it was still pretty awesome.
It was fantastic.
Okay, now we're going to transition to the Green and Gold Spotlight, which a reminder for you guys, this is where we kind of go through what's going on in our athletic department. And March was pretty crazy for us. We had a lot going on. Let's start with that women's basketball team. How awesome was this season?
It was fantastic. And, getting them through into the Mountain West Conference Championship game and winning that game for the first time in a while. Really, really proud of Coach Williams, his staff, and all of his student athletes on that team. It was great to see them get to that tournament. We went out to Norman, and we gave Michigan State a heck of a fight, and it came down to the last shot. But really, really proud of the way that they finished up their season.
That game was so awesome. I had foot surgery, so I couldn't go out to Oklahoma, but I did go to the watch party at Road 34 with my mom, and I scooted in on my scooter and sat down, and I was surrounded by Ram fans, and everyone was on the edge of their seat the whole game. It was so fun.
And you know what? We had a lot of Ram fans in Norman, and we had a lot more Ram fans than we had Spartans fans there, so that was I was really proud of the way the Ram country showed up for our team, too.
I love that. And we also had a great men's basketball season this year. First year for Farouk Manesh at the helm. 20-win season for him. They fell just short in the Mountain West tournament, but still a great effort this season.
Absolutely. And it's good to see that program in the postseason and Coach Farouk Manesh's first year as well. So, things look great for that program going forward.
And I know we mentioned it at our last Green and Gold Spotlight, but men's track and field did end up winning the Mountain West Championship, which was so awesome. And we've talked about that a little bit since then, but had to give them a shout out. And then 2 of our women were sent to the NCAA championship meet. We had Michaela Long, second team All-American, and Kaisa Borman, first team All-American. Pretty awesome to see them at that national stage.
Absolutely. And I talk a lot about us competing on the national stage, and anytime that any of our programs, can get there, whether it's, with individual folks through, like our track and field program or through our teams on the national stage, that is a big boost for us. And that's a big focus to make sure that we get to the postseason and the NCAAs in each of our sports.
So awesome. And for the first time in a long time, we sent a swimmer in NCAAs as well, Tess Winteray.
How proud is that? That it's been a while, since we've seen, someone in that program, getting up into the NCAAs, and it just shows the progress that we're making, over the last couple of years. We've had, some really, really great teams come through, win conference championships. Actually went back and we looked. In the last 2 years, women's volleyball has won a championship, a conference title. Both basketball programs have, and we had football in a bowl game a couple of years ago too. And we went back and looked to see, had we done that before? And there was a time in 2001 to 2003 that we had that level of success when all 4 programs won a conference title. But it goes to show that we're doing really great things here, and really excited about the trajectory and the future for CSU.
CSU as a campus, when our sports teams are doing so well, you can feel that buzz on campus as a student or a staff member, or just somebody joining campus for the day.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And look at the student attendance records that we've been setting over the last couple of years. Here in Moby and over in Canvas, the student support has been absolutely outstanding. I can't thank them enough.
Speaking of Canvas Stadium, we have a very exciting event. It's not a CSU sport, but we have the Bulls and Beats PBR event coming to Canvas Stadium this summer. Tickets are available for all parties now. Can you give us just a little rundown of what that event's going to look like?
Yeah, so we moved it to a weekend. So it's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, July 10 to 12. So Friday night will be an intercollegiate rodeo. So we've got about, give or take 15 intercollegiate rodeo teams coming to Canvas Stadium. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be the kickoff for the teams programs for PBR. So that's a different format than what we had last year. So we'll have all of their teams here in Fort Collins, and that's going to be a really, really great format, and concludes Sunday night with a championship.
I'm really excited. Miranda Lambert, Bailey Zimmerman, and Brad Paisley are going to be there. John and I are both big country music fans, so we were chatting about it in his office the other day, and I'm ecstatic for that lineup.
Yeah, it's a great lineup, and really excited to see a full Canvas Stadium each of those nights, and it's going to be an absolute blast. It was really fun last year, and we're going to keep making it better each year.
And of course, we're not done with our sports yet. We have some other spring sports competing. Outdoor track and field just started. Softball's been underway, men's and women's golf and tennis. So we still got a lot around Moby and around campus going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and assuming that we continue to do well in those sports, that'll actually take us into May and June as well with some of those programs. So, it never stops. But that's it's great.
And then, John, I'm going to ask you about the Ram Club. We have some stuff coming up. What can we look out on our slate for what the Ram Club has coming our way?
There's a lot that we're doing within the Ram Club, and probably the most immediate and noteworthy thing is a Pac-12 $12 a month donation level that we're going to launch here soon, and really would love Ram Country to get behind us as we ascend into the Pac-12.
So definitely keep your eye out for that Ram Club information. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the State of the Rams podcast with John Weber. We'll see you next month.
Go Rams.